If you were, for example, printing on, let's say, a Xerox 1000i with the silver dry toner, that silver toner is at the end of the press. So if you were to send a ColorLogic file down there, which is silver plus CMYK, that silver is going to print at the end of the machine on top of the CMYK. And we don't want that, we want the silver underneath. So ColorLogic worked with EFI, which has created a specialized patch for the handling of a two-pass printing method for devices like Xerox. Now, if you don't have the EFI RIP, for example, you might be having like the, I think it's Free Flow RIP is the other one, then you're going to have to try and rasterize the file. There are workarounds. You can do this actually in Photoshop, in Illustrator, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So first of all, let's just take a look at the file. I've created two sets of artworks. This one on the top is artwork created in Illustrator with files placed in there from Photoshop. There's metallic elements, there's logos, text, etc. This file below is a PDF file that I save from InDesign. So if you're designing in InDesign, save it as a PDF file and import it into Illustrator. So you can go to Place and place the file. Now what we're going to do is rasterize the file. So I'm going to select the files on that layout, and you need to do this one layout at a time because of the way that the rasterizing will work. If you selected everything at the same time, it will make a TIFF file of the whole design. So just do the spread. You may want to put on registration marks, it's up to you. So select that, and we're going to go to Object, Rasterize, and here we're going to change the resolution to whatever the resolution of your printing press is. So if your press was printing at a 1200 dpi, then output at 1200 ppi. I'm just going to do this at 300, just a standard high-res file, and then it's going to be a white background, and we need to make sure that this preserve spot colors is ticked. So we run that. The computer's then going to go through and rasterize that file into basically a raster graphic, which is like a photograph, and that's going to have the 5 separations embedded inside it. So if I now have a look at my links, you'll see that we now have this embedded graphic here. I'm going to do the same thing for the PDF file, so rasterize that, and again that will then be converted into these two elements here. So from there we can then go to Unembed, and we're going to give this a name. So this is the top one, so I'm going to call that Spread 1, for example. Let's save that. That now basically puts it as a linked file. We can now open that linked file with inside Photoshop. Just wait for it to catch up. There you go, PSD file. Do the same on this one. Oops. Unembed. And we're going to call this one Spread 2. Okay, so that's the first part done. Next, we're going to separate those files out. So we have our two images, Spread 1 and 2. We're going to take those files into Photoshop, and we're then going to separate them out into CMYK and silver. So that first part is all about trying to get the file inside Photoshop, because if you had a 5-color PDF file or multiple color PDF file from Illustrator or InDesign, you cannot take that into Photoshop and open it because it doesn't recognize that spot color separation. So by rasterizing it this way, it actually bypasses all that. So it's just a prepress trick that we've got working for this process. Okay, so hopefully the images will open up in a second. And the idea here is that all we're going to do is change the naming and split them out. Now, Photoshop always takes ages to open, so frustrating. There's the first one. And we should then see in here the CMYK and the spot color. Initializing the type tool. Okay, so it looks slightly wrong at the moment, and the reason for that is that by default the solidity is going to come up at 100% and it should be 0. It's just a view, it wouldn't affect how it prints. So now we're seeing it correctly. Okay, so let's take a look. There is our silver separation. and we have our CMYK. So we can turn off this silver, we could delete it completely, save that file, and we've got the CMYK elements. And then you can import it back in. So let me show you this way. I'm going to do that one as a CMYK. And then after that's finished, I'm going to go back a stage. I'm going to take 4-color and delete it. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that altogether. And it all depends on your working methodology. I prefer to work this way. I can then have the color logic separation. I'm going to convert that to grayscale. So it's now just a black and white separation. I'm going to save that as silver. I'm going to do that one as a TIFF because I'm going to colour that back up. So although this is a bit of an awkward workaround, at least you can understand why we went to the trouble of working with companies like EFI to create the working process as an automated solution for your press. So if you don't want to go with EFI, then this will do the same thing. Okay, so now we can go back into Illustrator. And let's just take this top one for example. Let's wait for it to catch up. Okay, so I'm going to take this one and let's start working with some layers. First of all, let's just flatten the artwork so we can start again. Call that Alt. Okay, so new layer. This one's going to be CMYK or silver, depending which way you're going to do it. And we're going to have another layer for CMYK. So first of all, let's take this file here and move this onto our silver separation. We are now going to make a duplicate of it and put that onto the CMYK. Now all we have to do now is swap out the images. So the first one is going to be replaced with the CMYK only, which is this one. And then let's go back to our layers, which was a silver layer here. In fact, let's just hide the other one so we can just show you what we're doing. I'm going to replace this one with the silver. Silver's going to go down first, don't forget. And with this one here, currently it's a black and white grayscale, but because of that we can now colour that up. So we're just going to colour it up as the Color Logic silver separation again. Go back to our layers, so you've now got a silver layer and CMYK. So we could turn off the CMYK and send that down to print. Then we can turn off the silver and send that one down to print. And if you want to visualize this correctly, select the top layer and from your attributes window, not attributes, wrong one, from the appearance menu, sorry, I'm going to change the opacity to multiply. And what that does is it just going to multiply that top layer down so that silver is visible. So if you want to show it correctly, but then like I said, switch that one off, send it to print, switch that one on, switch that one off and send it to print. And then that way you've actually bypassed the need for a two-pass working methodology. The other option is you could use software like the Callus PDF Toolbox. So I'm going to show you how that works as well. So let's take a file like this magazine cover spread here. I'm going to drag that into Callus PDF Toolbox. Now the Callus PDF Toolbox software is a Prepress tool for doing how to say, like pre-flighting of your files. Many other things that you can do, so pre-flighting doesn't really give it justice. What I'm going to use this for is it has a handy tool inside here. First of all, it brings up as a switchboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Document. I'm going to export that document as an image, very much like what we've done in Illustrator, but slightly quicker. I'm going to specify the resolution. I'm doing it as a TIFF. I'm doing it as multi-channel so it retains my spot color, and I'm going to simulate the overprinting because I need the overprint to be active. So I click on Execute, and it's going to say, you know, where do you want to save it. Don't forget, if your machine does it a set resolution, you know, if it's 800, 900, 1000, just put in whatever resolution is in there, because ultimately that's what's going to happen with your RIP. Okay, so I output that file. which is this one here. I can take that into Photoshop. It will open it up as a 4-color plus alpha channel. So first of all, the alpha channel is basically your silver separation. Now at the moment, alpha channels work the opposite way to what you would expect. They're like a mask, like a knockout mask. So first of all, we need to invert that separation. I'm going to go Adjustments, Invert. We can now colour that one up. Actually, what we'll do is we will turn that one off. So I've deleted it, so you've got the CMYK, save that file, and then delete the CMYK, and you've got your grayscale separation, and do the same thing we did in Illustrator. Same thing we did in Illustrator, whereby we we layered up the files and coloured it up as silver. So I have two methods. Doing it in Illustrator, it's free. Callus PDF Toolbox is about €500. Great tool, streamlines it, makes it quite a bit faster. I think their rendering intents are a bit better in my opinion. Illustrator again though is very, very good. It can be quick once you know what you're doing. So there we have it, two ways of being able to take your file and separate it out should you not have the appropriate tools for processing ColorLogic files on your device.